Good evening, and welcome back to another installation of Marvel Crisis Protocol TTS Season 10. My name is David. I will be your host this evening. I will be joined eventually by Greg, but Greg unfortunately is having some computer update issues, which are delaying him for a little bit. But while we are waiting, we're just going to go over some of the setup that we've got on the screen right here. So our players tonight are going to be Switch312 on the blue side, on the red side Randall195. Switch312 is Corey from our Lovable Misfits team, and we are going to be looking at him pilot his Asgard. So he has, from top left to bottom right, we have Loki, Heimdall, Crimson Dynamo, Beta Ray Bill, Angela, Wong, Valkyrie, Thor, Scourge, and Pyro. This is something that him and I have been theory crafting for a little while, and I wish we could see his Crisis. Oh, it looks probably because the characters, the Crisis have already been picked. So nice standard 10 roster for him, including some very, very popular splashable characters. Then over on RSB's team, it looks like we are going for Black Order. So Black Dwarf, Black Swan with the Power Gem, Bullseye, Corvus Glaive with the Reality Gem, Ebony Maw, Proxima Midnight, Supergiant, Thanos with the Space and the Mind Gem, Toad, and Winter Soldier. It looks like the the crises that have been chosen are Fear Grips, which is 4 extract objectives on the table. Every objective that you are holding gives you 1 additional attack dice, so very, very good for winning more. And Gamma Waves. I don't think we've seen either of these missions on the channel yet, but Gamma Waves are 3 central objectives, and if you are not within range 2 during the cleanup phase, you will take a damage. So this is going to be a very fast and very bloody game, with everyone gathered right in the middle. Players have already rolled off for priority, which I believe was won by RSB. So Switch will be choosing the board side, and then we'll also be choosing the threat level. So the loser of the priority roll chooses the threat level and their board side. The winner gets to select either their secures or their extracts as the mission type that they would like to put forward. And while we are slowly waiting, I am going to be turning off the timers because I don't really care for the timers right there. And we'll turn top down on. Perfect. Okay, you know what? I'm actually going to restore these settings because for some reason they don't seem to be... Seem to be just fine. Okay, players are going into their roster selection right now. So for those of you who haven't played the game before, you have your 10 characters, you have your 10 team tactics cards, and then based on the missions that are selected and the threat level chosen, you build your team of however many characters, as long as the threat adds up to the amount that was chosen by the loser of the priority roll. So you get to choose any number of characters as long as the threat does not exceed the threat chosen, and you can choose any of the 5 team tactics cards that you have selected. You may only bring a maximum of 2 restricted team tactics cards. So for our Black Order player, both of the team tactics cards, the restricted ones are actually the gems. So the Reality Gem that's on Corvus Glaive and the Space Gem that is on Thanos count as the restricted cards. So effectively meaning that that RSB will not be playing with any restricted team tactics cards, which may be very important because Asgard does like to throw a lot of things around, and not having Brace for Impact is a very, very important miss for an Asgard player. Winner myths, me like bloody. Yes, well, if you like bloody, this is going to be a bloody game. So I can't wait to get us all started. Let's see if Greg is kicking around. Calling Buzz Lightyear. Come in, Buzz Lightyear. Players have chosen... we'll wait for Greg. Players have chosen their teams, and it looks like we are going to be in for a classic 5 versus 4. So let's have a look at our Asgard player first. We have Thor, super wide Beta Ray Bill, Loki, Wong, and Pyro. Okay, Pyro is going to be an interesting choice, throwing some incinerates around. And Greg will be with us very, very shortly. And then going over to the other side of the table, we are going to be seeing a Thanos-less Black Order. Thanks to the card, First of the Black Order, you can select Corvus Glaive as your leader, and it changes the leadership options, but it does mean that you cannot bring Thanos at all. So we're going to be seeing Proxima Midnight, Ebony Maw, Corvus Glaive with the Reality Gem, and Black Swan with the Power Gem. So this is 18 threat right here, so 18 was clearly the threat that was chosen. And here comes Greg. Hello, Greg.
Hey, how's it going?
Welcome back. We were just...
So,
no, that's okay. We had just got everything started. We've got our rosters picked. We've got everything just kind of kicking off.
perfect.
So we're in for a very bloody game today, Greg. We have Gamma and Hammers in a...
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah, in a with Asgard versus Black Order, and RSB has actually chosen to go Corvus Black Order.
Oh, well, you're in for a treat then. I was going to say this is a very kind of old school game. I feel like Gamma Hammers is almost a classic of MCP of yesteryear. But
Gamma Hammers was a
Corvus Black
staple.
Order. That's some tasty new stuff.
Like you said, Gamma Hammers is a classic. It's the classic. Do as much damage as you possibly can to your opponents. And I was explaining the First of the Black Order card and how it does prevent Thanos from being selected as part of the team. The Thanos in question was Space Mind Thanos, which I feel like would have been pretty ideal for this scenario.
Yeah, that's interesting to not take Thanos. What is the threat level we're going with? Maybe that's a factor.
Threat level was 18.
Okay, you can run a pretty solid, Thanos Corvus Proxima 2 threat of choice. I'd feel pretty tasty with that on Gamma, I think.
Did you got the credentials for the room, correct, Greg?
I am on my way.
Perfect.
I'm making sure I can spell Crisis Protocol properly.
The current teams that we've got lined up against each other for Asgard, we have Thor, Beta Ray Bill, Loki, Wong, and Pyro. On the other side of the board, we have Power Swan, Reality Corvus, Ebony Maw, and Proxima Midnight.
Okay, the Loki pick, you know what? He does a number on Thanos, so he makes Thanos' life very difficult. Maybe very difficult might be a bit strong. Certainly irritating. So I understand. Maybe not so much going for the space in mind then.
Understood. Loki could still be a bit of a problem piece for Corvus and Proxima, making their husband and wife combo a little bit more expensive.
A bit, yeah, a little bit. And there is always, I suppose, a classic Black Order option of, hey, maybe just kill Loki and you don't worry about it after turn 2.
Now, I was already mentioning as well. Oh, sorry. I was already mentioning as well that with the addition of the space and the reality gems in the roster, RSB does not have the option of bringing any other restricted cards. And against Asgard, particularly an Asgard roster now that includes Beta Ray Bill, Brace for Impact and Indomitable are pretty essential cards.
Yeah, there's some solid movement shenanigans on that team. And they become online straight away with Wong in the picture, right? So, the natural thing is to maybe give a power to Thor for Asgard to start off with, but giving a power to Beta Ray Bill just to open up a walk throw doesn't feel too bad either.
Or opening up a turn 1 firewall. The addition of Loki as well as Root onto this team can be extremely crippling.
Oh yeah, no, that is a good point. That is a good point. Again, another thing where if you're looking at the roster, you could understand not taking Thanos, right? As you say, like stacking Root onto Thanos on top of Loki's bits and pieces. Suddenly those gems that would normally be totally free for Thanos to use are going to be costing you 2 power, which is not a place you want to be at all. I don't think you want to be paying 4 power for your Cosmic Portals either. That's just not a way to go.
Completely agree. Well, while the players are setting up before we start going into round one, I'd like to take this opportunity to talk about the Forest City Classic. It is going to be the first event being run by Lovable Misfits. It's being run by a good friend of mine, Todd. He is going to be putting this event on at the BMO Centre in London, Ontario, and that is going to be happening July, I believe it's 22nd to 23rd. We're going to be going for a 2-day event. Just confirming the dates. Yes, July 22nd and 23rd, BMO Centre, London, Ontario. I have the link of the event link in the description down below. It's going to be our first 2-day event that we're running. We're hopefully going to be. This is hopefully going to be the start of something absolutely wonderful. Hopefully, an annual event where we can get people from all over coming to take part in Marvel Crisis Protocol. So check out that link if you're interested in playing. We have room for, I think it's about 64 people. We're currently sitting at about 10 tickets already sold, and we just posted the event 2 days ago. So check out the event, which will link you to the website. Purchase your tickets as soon as you can. I hope to see you there, Greg.
I purchased my ticket today.
Wonderful.
So yes.
Now, Greg's
it's
been
not too bad, thankfully. My in-laws are in London, so it's relatively cheap accommodation, and most importantly, childcare.
Yes, there you go. Somewhere to drop the kiddies off for a little bit. Now, Greg has also been running some very successful tournaments over at Torchlight Hobbies and Games in Burlington, Ontario. The most recent one was a 32-person event. Greg, was it?
We topped out at 30. No, we topped out at 28. My apologies. We had space for 32. It was a doubles event, and we topped out at 30. Sorry, 30, and one team didn't show up, so we sounds right. Yeah, we topped out at 28, which is what we've hit at our singles events as well. So we've had one 28-person singles event. All the others have been 18 up until that, still sold out. We expanded to 28, hit that within about a week of ticket sales. The last doubles event, that was 28, didn't quite sell out, but the singles event we have in a few weeks, that sold out in less than 24 hours. So yeah, it's we're fortunate we've got a good venue, and people seem really happy to show up.
Yeah, your Torchlight's events sell out notoriously quickly. It's unfortunate I haven't been able to make it out to one. I think I've only been able to make it out to one, and it was a great time, great venue.
Speaking of speed, it looks like Proxima Midnight has wasted absolutely no time grabbing one of the flank hammers. Classic hammers opening.
Absolutely.
Take one of the side ones.
Takes one away from Beta Ray Bill, who would be pretty darn scary, I think, with a hammer, especially into Ebony Maw. His Call the Storm attack allows him to reroll 2 dice against a character that can fly. Ebony Maw can fly, so getting extra rerolls against him is obviously going to be very fantastic.
Yeah, and same as Black Swan as well, who you would expect to be right in the mix, given a jumbo toolkit. Being able to punish her just for again, similar lines with the flight and the rerolls, that is going to help quite a bit.
I'm just going to quickly message somebody.
Yeah, sure. We've got in response, it looks like we've got Thor moving out to take the other flank hammer. So I'm going to assume that Beta Ray Bill is going to collapse in towards the center, though he is looking pretty far out behind that Punisher van. I wonder if that's maybe slightly too far out in terms of positioning. He might have been better off on the other side of the van. What do you think, Dave?
For Beta Ray Bill, yeah, I think you're right. He's a little bit too far down on the flank there. He'll obviously want to to move back to the middle, and I think he can absolutely make it with a medium move, medium base, and I believe he has flight as well.
He does, yep.
He does, yeah. So the Punisher van won't provide too much of a problem, but I think you're right. He's a little bit further down than I would have liked. Now, one of the benefits of Asgard in this particular matchup is if they ever take just the chip damage from the gamma waves, they can use the affiliation ability to heal that back up. So Thor going and picking up a hammer will obviously take his damage, but can heal it back nice and early into the second round.
Yeah, but it looks like range being checked there for a long throw from Ebony Maw. It's the distance he can pull is impressive. He has a long throw, he picks it within range 3, and it costs him 3 power, which he starts with. So a lot of the times, you'd expect Ebony Maw to come forward and maybe shoot with his ranged gainer. I believe it's a gainer, it is, yep. But actually walk throw, as we were talking about a little bit earlier with Beta Ray Bill, that offensive throw, if you've got size 4 terrain, is a hell of an opener. Not a bad way to open a game whatsoever.
I guess we didn't have a chance to go over the team tactics cards while RSB is planning this move. Asgard has Brothers in Arms, which is the new Beta Ray Bill and Thor specific character card. Sibling Rivalry, which is one, again, for Thor as well as Loki. Odin's Blessing, which we've seen before. Fallback, and Disarm. Anything there that... have you had a chance to check out Brothers in Arms yet, Greg?
I haven't, no. I've looked at the, I suppose almost its sister card, which is the Wolverine version.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a little bit better because this stops throws, and I don't know if the Wolverine version does. There's one of these advanced thrown or placed, which I don't think Wolverine stops that Brothers in Arms does, and it's cheap.
Yeah. It's
one
way
power a piece
cheaper
on characters that earn 2 power a turn. That's an absolute steal.
Extremely cheaper because Wolverine's is a 3 cost per character card, so it's a 6 power card versus a 2 power card. So wow. You're absolutely right. Ebony Maw throws the building, does 3 damage to Thor. Good roll there from Corey, blocks 2 of the incoming 5 damage. That could have been catastrophic, and then Ebony Maw just retreats back to his back Gamma Shelter.
Yeah, we can't see the icon on him, but just looking at the table, it looks like he's holding that back point perfectly. Not too bad at all.
Yeah, should be able to double check here. Yes, he is currently in range 1. Pretty docile opening right here. That could have been very exciting. The building being thrown.
Certainly, but I think you'll be happy with it. There's an argument that having Ebony Maw pick up that rear hammer is actually really useful, simply because he's got distance as a defense, and he has the I always call it the Enchantress ability because that's kind of the first one that I think had it, where you have to spend power to ignore his Mystic defense, and so having Thor, quite commonly, I suppose, as he's going to be in this game, will only have the power to throw Asgard at the start of turn 2 and not much else. And so if he charges, then you're using your Mystic defense. Of course, we have to be careful of as well to prevent that. So Ebony Maw could have sat at the back here quite safely with that hammer and then just thrown 7 dice forwards with Black Tongue, potentially towards the end of the turn. But that size 4, I think I would be tempted to take it to it. 1, there's potential there for 5 damage into Thor, which is very, very tasty to open round 1 with. And the other thing is, it's a defensive throw. It gets that size 4 you throw instead of it being thrown at you.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's the only size 4 terrain on the board.
Yeah, true. And Ebony Maw standing right next to the size 3 behind the Gamma point, which is, again, great way to throw that forward onto the center. But it looks like Beta Ray Bill has come forward and is throwing some dice at Proxima Midnight.
And despite having a poor offensive roll, he's still able to squeeze through a damage. Not bad. I think Corey's exercising his right a little bit of using the Asgard affiliation to heal back some gamma damage, so he's not too concerned about making it back to the middle of the table early. And I'm now curious as to whom his back hammer goes on to.
Yeah, because there's a couple of interesting options, right? So we have Pyro here. He's got long range attacks. We were just talking about that with Ebony Maw. Pyro can fill a similar, much reduced role, but he also is 2 threat less. But extra dice means an extra chance to chuck Incinerates out. He has the beam, which the extra dice on a beam is just pure efficiency. That's brilliant. But he is relatively easy to kill, whereas at least with Loki, Loki has Trickster in his favor. He also has a beam, even though it's not quite as good as Pyro's. So there is there's an interesting option either way. One thing I do find interesting here, talking about tactics cards, is Pyrotechnics is missing. from the Asgard side of things. And bringing Pyro along, I would have expected that to show up, especially as it is Gamma. You know the fight's going to be in the middle. Being able to push people off the point, even if you ignored the steal, it's a great little piece of crowd control.
I completely agree. Another thought is Loki having the hammer is pretty scary. There was a small argument being made for a small period of time, previous stage of the meta, where Loki was being heralded as kind of Corvus Light, has the ability to count his blanks on his attack or defense roll. So being able to have an extra dice while counting the blanks could be a potentially dangerous beater.
Very much so, yeah. It looks like
Wong moved up and used Vishanti's blessing to heal Thor. So, in addition to the Asgard affiliation, Thor is now back up to full health. So, effectively nullifying the entirety of Ebony Maw's opening gambit. What do you think of that?
It's useful. Wong is a little bit out of position, but again, we have Asgard leadership. I don't think it's too bad. It looks like, though, that with Wong moving off that rear point, that the center is going to be surrendered to Black Order.
Which I don't necessarily hate that play. I feel like anyone from Black Order who's going to go into the middle then either has to get out of dodge real quick, or they're going to have at least one or two characters capable of double tapping into them.
Exactly right. And Black Order is going to get priority next turn, right? So if you push a couple of people to the center, there's a good chance one of them's going to be dazed.
Black Swan just spent 3 power, which I believe would be for a charge I-beam attack. Seems to make the most sense. The power gem would have got her started with 3 power. Charge only costs 2. Now, as if Black Order needed it, the I-beam does come with an automatic incinerate.
Yes, it does. It looks like poor Wong is checking distance there. That's going to be tight. I think he's got it.
Survey says yep. So this will be. I criminally haven't used Black Swan nearly enough. This is going to be a 5 dice energy attack with Wild Pierce into Wong, who only has the 3 energy defense. Yes, so potentially dangerous here. Check out the roll here. Do you have many reps of Black Order under your belt, Greg?
I do. This is prior to Black Swan, though. And I haven't played a lot of pure Black Order roster. I used them as an accent piece for X-Men for quite a while, actually. And so when I say I played Black Order, I played a lot of Thanos, Corvus, and Proxima. Not too much Black Swan. Though she is one of those models that, as you say, I feel like I should play more often as a solid 5 threat. But she competes with a lot of other good models.
I was going to say, you call her a 5 threat in the same way that we would call Corvus a 4 threat. Is that power gem staple to her, Greg?
I think so. One of the things that, again, is on my list to try is Black Swan in any kind of the 4 threat Black Swan, my apologies, in any kind of affiliation where she can get that extra power. Brotherhood, for example, something like A-Force or Inhumans. I think she can potentially do a fair bit of work there, but I haven't had time to test her myself.
That's fair. Inhumans has been gaining a lot of popularity recently. And I think a character like Black Swan would benefit from being in there.
Oh, certainly. Like that charge turn 1 is great. I mean, the other thing is maybe the advantage of the power gem is not just in the charge, maybe because she's got so many great ways to spend her power. Because I compare her a lot to Rogue, who I have no option to give her an extra power. It's just she starts with 1 like a normal character. And I do enjoy playing Rogue, and Black Swan slightly different kit, but not a million miles away. And maybe people, because you've got the option of the power gem, maybe people get a little bit too hung up on, because this is an option, you should therefore always take it, instead of, I don't think it's as clear cut as Corvus in reality.
Mm-hmm.
But I have nothing to back that up with.
So all conjecture.
All conjecture.
So the resolving attack from Power Swan looked like it was... Oh, sorry, from Black Swan. I'm not going to just call her Power Swan. She did a damage to Wong, gave Incinerate. It looks like the Asgard affiliation was used to shake the Incinerate. Wong is missing the affiliation token to show that it was used. And now Loki is going. He's moved past the back Gamma Shelter and the Hammer. It looks like he's just getting within range to put some hurt back onto Swan.
It's interesting, actually, because if you put Black Swan on 2 power, that opens up a Mothership play to drop Corvus in now, right next to Loki. I think if I was RSB here, I would have actually gone with Pyro, picked up the Hammer, and then shot Black Swan. So even if you do drop Corvus in, at least you've got distance as your defense. Right, whereas here, Loki's potentially exposed to quite a bit of danger.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't think the power gain is going to be too much of a problem. It looks like Loki's only doing the 1 success to the 2 blocks, so nothing given. And where RSB will be finishing off the round with Corvus, leaving the back hammer just ready for him. Pretty stock standard first turn. The only real question was who was going to have agency in the middle of the board, and I think you predicted it rather correctly with it being Corvus. Or sorry, being Black Order. My apologies.
Yep, I don't think, because we're in the new Gamma Shelter with a center point only being 1 VP, I don't think it is as essential now to push to the center. I think doing what Switch 312 done here is and hang back a little bit. I'm okay with that play. You're going to be 1 point down. That's not the end of the world when you've got Beta Ray Bill and Thor with the ability to move people off points. You've got a little bit of crowd control, and that crowd control is relatively safe. They can come in towards the end after Corvus is activated, after Black Swan's activated, to throw those characters off the points and get those points back.
Like, playing a little cagey round 1 on any of the E-maps is actually... I enjoy that play. So before the Gamma Wave change, when it was when they changed the victory points for scoring, whenever I played Demons Downtown, I was never too worried about going for the middle of the board. If my opponent wanted to overextend to claim that 1 extra point just to get incinerated, I was more than okay with that.
And looks like Pyro's going now.
Finish off the round. Pyro's going to go and claim his backhammer and probably lay down some hurt into Corvus. And I don't think there's anything that can... Well, unless Pyro happens to roll extremely, extremely hot, I think we're going to have a 1 point lead for Black Order at the end of the first round.
Yeah, but this is a nice way to go. It looks like we do have the hammer going on to Pyro. Now we've got a chance to actually incinerate Corvus and Black Swan, which is it's a nice way to end the turn, I think.
Absolutely. So all of Pyro's attacks, as you probably would have guessed for our new watchers, can cause the Incinerate special condition, which means that the afflicted character rolls 1 fewer defense dice. And Pyro has a really cool ability that allows him to spread that fire, which is very, very in keeping with his character in both the stories and the 1 movie we've seen him in. If you even count those old X-Men movies.
I do. I was trying to remember if he's in the 3rd one or not. I honestly can't remember.
No, I think...
But looks like he's actually going into Black Swan. Which I think is the correct option here, because you don't want to give Corvus power for his spender. Because if you give him 1 power, he's going to be on 4. He's suddenly got a range 3 attack with a medium move. That'll open him up to a lot. It'll probably put Pyro in range.
Ooh.
Um,
All right.
oh,
Pyro, quite
on,
literally on fire. Now, he's only rolling 5 dice. I think he might be forgetting his hammer there. He should be rolling.
Yeah, it looks like he has.
Should be rolling 6. But Black Swan does retaliate with 2 criticals. Now, Swan has defensive tech. That's on Wild, isn't it?
She can turn Wilds off. She spends a power, and per power spent, I believe, she turns 1 Wild to a blank. It looks like that has not been used.
Now, she didn't have any power at the beginning.
Yep. And we should be seeing a 5 manipulation now go on to Corvus. Because the 5 manipulation is after attack's resolved. If a character has Incinerate, you pass it on to a character within 2. And the attack gives out Incinerate after the attack's resolved. So as the active player, the Asgard player gets to choose which order those things resolve in. And naturally, they've chosen to give out Incinerate first.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw a range check, but I haven't seen an Incinerate token make it to Corvus just yet.
They are. It looks like both of the players are currently checking out the card. They might be disputing, or they might be talking about that ruling. But you're 100% correct. The wording on the card very specifically says when this character targets after the attack is resolved, so after the Incinerate has been applied by the Wild, the target character has the Incinerate special condition. Character may choose another enemy character within range 2, gains Incinerate. So the 1 attack giving Incinerate will hop it over to Corvus Glaive, which I don't think anyone playing against Black Order is going to complain about that.
Absolutely not, no. Changing that loss of 1 dice on Corvus for defense is really important. That's 1 less chance to roll a skull for Reality Gem. And the difference between 3 dice and reducing by 1, 2 dice reducing by 1 is a lot larger than you think when we have the exploding dice we have in MCP.
I do have confirmation from Switch 312 that RSB is looking for official confirmation that is how fire manipulation works. So it looks like we're going to be taking a quick pause until we can have either an accuser or somebody step in and give the ruling.
Sure, I think I'm going to dive to the rules forums then while we're talking and see if it's already been covered.
For sure.
If not,
sorry.
We could always bring up the rulebook as well, because I believe it's actually just covered by the rulebook.
Well, and this is a very unique circumstance. This is the only rule I think in the entire game that has this type of wording. So even when the card first came out, those of us that play somewhat frequently were still kind of questioning, is this exactly how it works?
Yeah, that's true. The other interesting point where this actually comes up is with Captain America Sam Wilson, who has a push after the attack's resolved, and he has a ricochet. And so even though it's a range 4 shield throw, if you actually you can trigger the push before the ricochet, so you would push a character back short, and then you could measure your 3 from that pushed back position for your ricochet. You have to be very wary, especially at the start of the game, that it is actually possible for Sam Wilson to essentially shoot a model in your deployment zone with the ricochet and push them back, further towards the edge of the board.
Looks like confirmation was attained. Corvus has now gained the Incinerate condition, and that is going to conclude the round. Asgard will be scoring 3. Black Order will be scoring 4.
And that ruling is on the MCP's rules forum as well.
Perfect. Corvus is holding a hammer, but it's sitting on his card rather than the tray, so it's not showing on the overhead. So Black Order does have 2 hammers. Asgard has 2 hammers, as we would expect, and then Black Order does own the center of the board, giving us 4-3, and Black Order getting priority for the second round.
And what would you do with priority if you had it?
If I was Black Order?
Yep.
That's a very, very interesting question. I feel like it's a trap for the answer to not be either Black Swan or Corvus. You could hypothetically go with Ebony Maw, but again, we've got both Pyro and Loki in a position where they're able to attack. They might not be able to put out a whole lot of damage, but both Black Swan and Corvus are both currently incinerated. So I feel like one of those two characters is required to go.
Yeah, and I think the temptation is to go with Corvus to attack Loki. But Loki does have the power for Trickster, so you need to be a little bit wary of him just basically backing off, sitting on that back gamma point, and effectively wasting one of Corvus's activations.
So it
I
sounds like you
go.
think Swan would be the correct choice then.
I think so, yeah. And I think Swan goes for Pyro. I think that's what I'm looking at. Pyro or Wong, but I think Pyro is a more dangerous character there.
Well, dangerous given exactly what he can do uh, to your team, but also dangerous because he is currently holding a hammer.
Exactly right. He represents essentially 2 points of, well, 3 points really for the Black Order player. If you can get Pyro dazed, if you can sit Black Swan on that point, you can delay Corvus a little bit, and it gives you a chance to bring Proxima across to use a husband and wife to at least keep that priority if you do get a daze here against Pyro.
Well, we'll see what RSB decides to go with. As the gamma wave damage is applied, so Asgard suffers 3 damage overall from it in the on Thor, Wong, and Beta Ray Bill, and only 1 for Black Order in Proxima Midnight. Now we are measuring range 3, and I believe that would be from the Quantum Starburst. No,
Spear throw.
Spear Throw, right? Yeah, Quantum Starburst is range 4. Okay. So it
Yeah,
looks.
to get the place next to Beta Ray Bill. Or okay, it looks like Proxima's going to come in then.
I think Proxima is alluding to a husband and wife turn, and that's only a size 2 shipping container, so she can move freely over that. Size 2 shipping container? What does that look like from? Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's dinky. Yeah.
That's a small thing. All right.
Yeah.
I'm so used
don't buy from AIM apparently. You get scammed on space.
It's one of those mini U-hauls. Well,
the interesting thing is if Loki does Trickster away now. Oh no, it looks fine. I wasn't sure if Proxima will be able to redirect potentially into Pyro, but it looks like that is the case.
Now, this achieves 2 things. This is a decent choice of activations. Is it's not only going to bring Proxima back into the fray, so she doesn't take continued gamma damage, but it's effectively forcing Switch's hand on Beta Ray Bill. Which is, I guess it could be a benefit, because now Beta Ray Bill knows exactly what he needs to do. Mini U-haul for the win. Yes, I'm used to shipping containers being size 3 or even bigger, but size 2. I was very curious. That is a 5 successes from Proxima, looking like it was going into Loki, who was able to block 1. Well, actually, I guess 2, because he must have used I Am a God to count blanks. And the place from Spear Throw is going to be enough to place Proxima in range to activate Husband and Wife. So Corvus and Proxima have mutual abilities, either Husband or Wife of one or the other, where they can spend a single power at the end of their activation to activate the other one. So Proxima spends 1 power, and as long as Corvus is within range 3 of Proxima, he may now activate. So our Black Order player is going to go twice in quick succession.
Yeah, I think we should see a Trickster here come from Loki. it would effectively be a stagger on Corvus at this point, and that feels like great value.
Yeah, I completely agree. His only ranged attack is the Atom Splitter. He might actually be within range 3 of Pyro, but he doesn't have the power for a for a death blow. So
yeah, the only, I suppose, downside of that is that you would then no longer have the power for Odin's Blessing. But I think that's okay. I think if Corvus moves forward, especially if Loki kind of tricksters towards 1,
mhm.
that so Corvus is not standing on a point if he wants to get Loki dazed. I think that's a fair trade. It puts him a little bit closer to Thor. Um,
we
and
are
it
seeing
takes
the
him out of the fight.
trickster come out here. I think RSB would have been anticipating this because he didn't preemptively spend for Glaive's Edge. Now, Glaive's Edge wouldn't be rendered inert, but because it only affects the next action, but then it would basically force his hand into needing to move and then attack. Loki wisely retreating back onto the objective, so now he has 2 models that counter out Proxima. So if RSB really wants that point, they're going to have to come in with somebody else as well.
Yeah, now Corvus does have his action funded, so he does have the option to just walk forward and hit Loki, or is he going to go for the 2 Atom Splitters? I think with Odin's Blessing online, I think I would still step forward with Corvus and go for the basic
Interesting.
strike.
So, judging by the measurements here, it looks like RSB is really, really concerned about Loki's aura. So, Loki has a range 4 aura where all superpowers have to must spend an additional power to use. Gets a little scarier on his injured side because it also stops your criticals from exploding. Now, what do we think of this?
I think it's a strange play after the husband and wife. With a husband and wife, you're essentially paying the power to keep priority, and the only reason with the current setup we have, in terms of a 4-man team versus a 5-man team, the only concern you would have about that would be to you get a daze, and I don't see a daze character on the board just yet.
No, he's spending the 3 power. It looks like we're doing a 5 dice physical Glaive's Edge into Beta Ray Bill. It will be 6 because of the hammer, and he will be counting the blanks. Beta Ray Bill does have 4 physical defense and is able to neutralize one of them by spending a power for Corbinite implants. I feel like this has to pay off for Corvus here. Okay, gets 1 hit, 1 critical, and then the skull counts as a critical because he has the reality gem, and Beta Ray Bill is only blocking the 1.
And we do have the 2 blanks in there for Corvus as well, so this is actually quite a big hit.
So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I believe the wild is a pierce, right?
On his standard strike, yes.
So that means that that might be a dazed Beta Ray Bill.
Yeah, okay. I really did question that play, but as quite commonly happens in MCP, the dice have made RSB look like a genius. Because what I'm not too sure about the play, because you essentially move Corvus off a point. Whereas instead of having Beta Ray Bill come in and force you to move.
Mm-hmm.
But with the days, that husband and wife play has now paid off. And Corvus has that hammer. He's relatively isolated from retaliation. Yes, Pyro can hurt him, but that is just about it in terms of retaliation. I don't think Loki's going to get maybe 1 attack on him. Thor can't get to him. I'd fancy his chances of living here in that position.
So then we move over to Corey's activation. I don't necessarily think he has to worry too much. He's in a relatively decent position. He has his Black Swan already incinerated, so he can just lay into her a little bit. And with Proxima already gone, I feel like that is a it's a good option.
Yeah, I think again we're talking about priority quite a bit here, whereas Pyro into Black Swan or Loki into Black Swan feels like a good play, because you will now know that you are not going to have priority the next turn,
So
unless Black Swan gets greedy and dazes Loki, and one of those two models goes after Proxima instead. I think you might as well attempt to daze one of the Black Order models. But it
now,
looks like we have Thor doing something here.
yeah, so Loki spent 1 power to use the Asgard affiliation and heal 1. Thor has spent 3 power and looks like he is going to be doing a for Asgard. So he is going to be charging into range 2 of Black Swan, and he'll be rolling a 7 dice physical attack, whereupon if he does any damage, Black Swan will be staggered.
This is a nice play. This is a nice way to go about it. Black Swan's also incinerated, so...
So this is going to be 7 into 3 with a wild throw, as well as damage equals stagger.
Now, Black Swan does have the ability to turn those wilds off, so that's a little bit of a shame.
He has to roll wilds first. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, but those 3 crits have got to feel pretty good for Corey right
Oh
now.
my lordy lord. Okay.
Wow.
So what we just witnessed right there is every single badass moment that Thor ever pulls off in the movies. Like he's returned from Nidavellir with Stormbreaker. He lands in the field and he cuts everybody down. That's the Thor we love to see. So that is a dazed Black Swan.
Black Swan was actually in Infinity War. She just went down that fast. He didn't really get much screen time.
You didn't see her at all. Okay, so that's 1 action down, and basically gives Thor a full refund on his power for that. So he now has an action left to go. It looks like RSB is contemplating Blood to Spare, which is a Team Tactics card which allows a character that is just about to daze to perform an attack beforehand. And it looks like she's going to be using her Everything Dies Spender.
I like this play. Even I think the basic strike with Black Swan would have been good enough just to push Thor away so he can't then contest that gamma point. Yes, Black Ebony Maw could move him off, but he'd have cover with a size 2 barrels, and it would prevent a throw into him because the throw terrain would hit the barrel before it hit Thor.
All right, so this is an 8-dice physical Everything Dies,
which could be followed up with a I-beam, right?
It is going to be, yeah. So the follow
wow,
up.
Okay.
So the follow up happens from a hit, and a throw happens from a wild. So both triggers happen. That's going to be 3 damage onto Thor.
Do you Odin's Blessing this?
That's a very good question.
Because 3 damage is going to take him to 4 wounds. He'll be outside the gamma. It will take him to 5. He can leadership one of those back. But that's a risky spot to be in.
We got a reroll from something. I don't know what was causing that reroll right there. Oh, does the reroll telepathic suggestion reroll 1? Okay, so she used telepathic suggestion to make Thor reroll one of his defense dice, and Odin's Blessing was used. I think that is a good call because that was going to be 4 unanswered damage, and then with the gamma waves, it was going to be enough.
Yep, and looks like we've got a throw into Loki, and then an I-beam follow-up. This is a very good use of Blood to Spare by Black Swan.
All right, so then this is a dodge roll from Loki.
Quite an important one as well, with Odin's Blessing being gone.
Blocks.
Okay, stop 2.
Blocks 2, takes 1. Okay, that's probably best case scenario.
It's what he needed to do, I think. Yeah.
Yep, so then we get the follow-up I-beam attack, which will be another 5-die energy attack, which will be putting Incinerate onto Thor. And as long as this doesn't do 3 damage, Thor will still be in a good position to punch into Proxima here. That is 4 successes with a crit and the pierce.
Wow.
Versus a fantastic Okay, decent roll. 2 blocks currently. The Pierce is going to negate one of them, and they each get a block again.
And another block.
So that's going to
Okay.
be 5 into 2. It's going to be doing 3. That is for dazing from a blood to spare. Everything dies. Wow. What a
Wow.
response.
Yeah, that's this has been the last few activations have been up and down, eh? The Corvus dazing Beta Ray Bill, Thor coming in to retaliate the Black Swan, the out of activation, Blood to Spare to daze Thor, because now it's going to be Black Order's turn, and you've got a question if you actually pass here.
I think you absolutely pass.
You want someone to you're almost daring someone to come to that center point now.
Now this feels that's all it's obviously kind of a bad feel. It's a feels bad, man, when one of your characters gets dazed during your own turn. Not very many instances where this actually happens, and it's definitely a moment that makes you kind of, I don't know, maybe puts you on tilt, maybe makes you play a little bit more cautiously for the rest of the game. But it's happening very early on, and a point that's still very, very manageable. So even though Beta Ray Bill and Thor have just been dazed this round, I still think this game, it's not blown wide open yet. I still think this game is extremely close.
Yeah, and I think both of those characters have great ability to retaliate now. They're very well powered up. My one concern would be Beta Ray Bill being um, KO'd by Corvus in the next round, but you do have fallback there to at least try and mitigate some of that. If RSB's been clever here, I think he would death blow Beta Ray Bill just so that if fallback is used, you can at least advance after your attack next to Beta Ray Bill. Second swing in.
Now it looks like we've got some measuring going on from RSB. He's definitely planning his Ebony Maw move.
Now, does he want to go and pick up the hammer? It's an interesting question. We do have the option for Mothership. To Mothership forward, pick up the hammer, and then start to retreat.
And Mothership is being played off of Proxima.
Okay. Yeah, so bring Ebony more forward. I think you'd pick up the hammer, and then you start walking. You start walking backwards, I think. As tempting as it is to stay still.
I was gonna say, like, his two options are he just absolutely lays waste to everybody nearby, or I think the option that you're mentioning is probably the smarter of the choices, falling back, grabbing that hammer, and then laying into your opponent.
Yeah, I think you could stand on that center point. You could potentially daze Loki, and you would still gain priority the next turn. That Days of Black Swan with the exceptional Blood to Spare really does open up some. It's a bit of a blessing in disguise. You can be a little bit greedier than usual with Black Order.
That was an outrageous Blood to Spare. I think I've seen that card being used maybe three or four times, and that has been the moment with the most returns that I've ever seen.
I think me too. That was absolutely fantastic. If you think we had, a Dazed Leader, we freed up an extract, we put damage on another character. You'd want that out of an activation. Never mind just one tactics card play.
So right now we are seeing a Black Tongue attack going into Loki, who did spend for I Am a God and rolls 4 hits. Luckily, RSB only rolls a single crit, so Loki will only be taking 1 damage. That was a flubbed roll on both players' parts.
Indeed, yeah, and I'm curious as to why he made the attack first instead of walking back to pick the hammer up first.
What's the range on his throw?
Long, and he picks it within 3.
Oh, within 3, okay. So maybe maybe he was banking on having the building in range 3 as a backup and then falling back as a last action. But
That's true. But I think if you're within 1 of that hammer, I think it's close. His Black Tongue is a gainer, so I suppose 3 power you had on. Wait a second. I don't think Ebony Maw didn't spend a power to move.
he would
Right.
have had. He did his.
He would have started the turn with 3.
Oh, he would have gained bonus from the Dazes and the Black Order affiliation.
Oh, of course. We're playing in this new world with this new leadership card.
We are playing with Corvus leadership, so no victory points, but definitely power.
So if anything, yep, he showed exactly the right amount of power. That's correct.
And that just
Then yeah, you're on 3 power. Black Tongue automatically gains you 1. I think he should have thrown that size 3 into Loki.
That's what I was anticipating too. But it also just kind of goes to show just how uncommon Corvus leadership is. And he falls back, picks up the hammer, and calls it a day. So RSB is done, and we have Loki, Wong, and Pyro to go. Obviously, one of those is really not like the other. But Pyro's in a relatively decent spot here.
Yeah, he has an interesting choice of he can attack Ebony Maw or he can attack Corvus, and I'm not sure which one the correct choice is.
I actually think it's neither. I feel like Proxima is the correct choice.
Yeah. Well, so at the moment he does have that back point locked up, so he doesn't get any extra points for dazing Proxima. He doesn't free up any extracts or anything like that.
She's holding a hammer.
She is holding a hammer. In that case, Proxima is the correct choice.
Because I don't think he's got enough oomph to break through Ebony Maw. Corvus is incinerated, yes, and he's off on his own. But Proxima being there, I don't know. I feel like this is going to be a rough choice all around. And Gamma Waves happens during the cleanup phase, yes, because so there's no way that you can keep them dazed for a turn.
No, and we were talking about pyrotechnics and it not being here a little bit earlier, and this is potential to be a great pyrotechnics turn, right? Mm-hmm. If you get Incinerate on Proxima, get Incinerate on Ebony Maw, you would have had them both drop their hammers, push them both away. That one Tactics card could generate you easily another 2 victory points, as well as denying at least 1 victory point to RSB.
We're rolling 5. Like Loki. Yeah, we're rolling 5 dice from someone into someone. I'd like to think that it's.
I think this is Loki punching
Proxima.
Punching Proxima, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and that seems correct. Okay, so it gets 1 damage through. Again, 1 damage doesn't seem like a whole lot, but most of the Black Order roster has the ability to reduce damage. So you're happy. You're expecting 1. So if you get 1, you're happy. Now, Loki has thrown a check mark down. I only really saw the 1 action, but maybe I was missing something. And then good old Wongers. What's he going to go and do? Probably go and...
Is he going to punch Proxima? Go on, son.
Gosh, I hope so.
It looks like he's standing in range of the Gamma Shower there. Doesn't want to take another point of damage.
In range of the Gamma Shelter, but also making sure that he is not within range 2 of Proxima. So I don't think he's going to take the damage, but he is spending his power, and it looks like he's going to be healing. He's healing Loki. Okay. Which then leaves Pyro.
Interesting. I think I might have tried a cheeky 4 dice in Proxima there. I think it's worth the attack,
especially if it frees up Pyro to attack somebody else.
Yeah. Because the issue you have now is if Pyro picks up Dazed Proxima, you're going to want to pick up their hammer, and then suddenly Pyro has a lot of value compared to other characters, and that's the last thing you want in Black Order, is to be concentrating your value. You want to spread out as much as humanly possible.
All right, so Pyro is going to be rolling his 6 dice into 3 dice, 3 defense, so this looks like it would be Proxima.
Yep.
Well, those blanks are helping nobody. So that's 2 blocks from Proxima, 1 success, not even a wild. So Proxima remains unfazed. So this means just the second action is going to be what hopefully does the work. I guess it's 3 dice. It could have been Corvus.
Corvus is incinerated, so drop to 2.
Ah, yes. Good call. Alright, so secondary attack. Proxima is missing everything. That is 3, which gets reduced to 2. So that should be a dazed
That's a
Proxima.
dazed. Nice.
Alright, and then the hammer goes on to Pyro, as he's the only one to pick it up. You probably pick it up now, right? Like, I know you said...
No, I think you have to. Yeah, I think you still do. I don't think it's great, but I think you still pick it up. Points win prizes at the end of the day. You've got no one else left to go, so you might as well have it.
Corey doing the correct steps of placing it first before picking it up. Most of us just kind of put it onto our characters, but...
And it looks like Pyro's dropped 2 power, so I'm expecting a root and a slow to go onto someone.
Who do you put it onto?
Either Ebony Maw or Corvus is a good choice. I think with where he is, I would put it onto Corvus.
I think Corvus is an amazing card, and Shush is coming out.
Yep, okay. So that's a sensible use of Shush, I think.
I completely agree. I think that Root and Slow onto Corvus right there would have been not crippling, but it definitely would have made his life a lot harder.
Yeah, and ideally you want to save it for a Faraz Guard or similar. That would be my only other argument. But with Proxima Midnight right there, I don't think you're that bothered about the Faraz Guard compared to Corvus coming back to the center. Especially with Mothership being spent combined with the fact Corvus has an extract, he wouldn't have been able to use it anyway. He would have been isolated there. Yes, he potentially KOs Beta Ray Bill, which would feel good. But then he's going to waste a turn just walking back to the center.
So that concludes round 2. 3 for 3 on both players, as RSB has abandoned his back point. Not the wrong play, but it obviously, like you said, points win prizes. And Corey being able to pick up the other hammer allows him to just stay at arm's reach. So now we're going to go to the cleanup phase. 2 dazed characters apiece. Granted, one was from an exceptional Blood to Spare, Everything Dies, but at least everything seems kind of even in the grand scheme of the game. RSB obviously having priority. He's going to have priority for most of the rest of the game. Where do you go first if you are Black Order here?
I think I go for Thor, actually. I know Beta Ray Bill is tempting, but I think Thor's the one I go for. Beta Ray Bill, his action economy comes from you attacking him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Thor can do a lot with Proxima, Black Swan, Ebony Maw all in front of him. He's got the option to... He's got the power that really... he could throw this size 3 at Proxima, punch Proxima, charge somewhere else. He's got that size 2 in the center. You probably don't throw it at Ebony Maw, even though he does have a hammer, because Ebony Maw can just bat it away. But I think actually, you know what? 9 power. I think you go for dazing Ebony Maw. Like Black Swan does open up the Everything Dies again, but I think putting Ebony Maw on the ground is a good way to go.
All right, so lots of humming and hawing of deciding where his first move is going to go. He has already measured to see if husband and wife is in range. It is not, so that means that either Proxima or Corvus will have to move as part of their turn. Not so hard for Corvus, as he does have a medium advance on his death blow. But it's a matter of...
I think that's okay here if you If you give up priority next turn, but Thor or Beta Ray Bill are dead, I think you're okay with that.
So we just rolled 5 into 3, so I'd like to assume that this is Proxima attacking into Loki, maybe? Or
Interesting.
Pyro?
Or maybe Pyro. Maybe you try and kill Pyro to get your points. Because, a 2-hammer Pyro is a little bit scary.
Mm-hmm. So there's going to be 2 points of damage on whomever. It was into Loki. So
Interesting.
2 points of damage,
Okay.
and this must have been Proxima then attacking.
Yeah. We now do have the power for Quantum
Starburst.
Starburst.
But
Yeah.
Starburst doesn't give him the move. If he's trying to set up a husband and wife play, then he has to use Spear Throw here or move.
True. I don't think there's good value in a husband and wife play right now.
I would agree. But I feel like just based off the success he had last turn with being able to take down Beta Ray Bill and just with Corvus being kind of out of the way, we are doing 5 dice into 4. So this sounds like it's going into Thor, maybe?
Interesting.
Wow, rolling really well. That's 4 successes into 1.
Oh, energy, pyro, quantum starburst.
Ah, gotcha. No, that was the spear throw.
No, spear thrust, spear throw, and a pyro. Okay, interesting.
And pyro is using full back. It's an interesting choice here, but it does give him the potential option of getting out of Ebony Maw range on his turn. Now,
interesting full back use because pyro isn't dead. Yeah, I understand using full back there if pyro was going to die because you want to get those extracts as far away from Proxima as you can.
Now, if that was but it places it makes Proxima have to place off of the objective. Does she have to place, or is it a choose?
Yeah, no.
Oh,
no, she has to.
She has to.
Yeah.
Okay, so that pulls her off. Okay. Decently smart play. And now that means that if Corvus is going to do the husband play and wants to go over to Pyro, they're both off of the back point.
Yeah, that is a nice little play there by Corey. I like it.
I'm very okay with that.
And yeah, Proxima still within Loki range, so she has to spend 2 power, not the 1.
Oh, she has.
That was a nice little play.
She has plenty of power to throw around, so she's more than okay to do that. She's done, and Corvus is looking to go.
See, I wonder if he might have been better off the other way around. If he was going to do that, start with Corvus, kill Bill. You've got a medium move after your death blow attack. Then stand closer to Loki.
I'm a little confused about the first attack into Loki. Maybe.
Yeah, I wonder if he was just hoping for days. May have been a little bit greedy.
Maybe. The power was spent for husband and wife.
All right, Bill. Let's see how you take another hit.
Oh yeah, this is a death blow.
With Glaive's Edge, I think.
Yep, with Glaive's Edge. So that is 8 successes with a critical. This is a dead Beta Ray Bill. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Bill.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Bill.
This is the second game where we've cast Dave where Beta Ray Bill has just got a bit of a kick in.
Yeah. And I can't even blame Corey's positioning here. The first attack was extremely unfortunate. The second attack was just this is probably what was going to happen the whole time.
Yeah, I mean lightning struck twice in the same place. It's Corvus Glaive. It's essentially his only job.
Yeah. Now, interesting is that does potentially open up a window for Corey to gain priority at some point in this game. With already flipping Proxima, the potential exists. Now, is Corvus going to be...
see a get help? Oh, sorry. I'm already skipping ahead to what you do if you're Corey, but look, see, he's got a medium move now. I was hoping we might see a sibling rivalry there.
We still might.
Just to stagger one of the two of either Ebony Maw or Black Swan.
Now we still might, because I think Corvus, is he in range of that objective? He is. He does place within, so he is able to also attack Pyro at the exact same time. I don't think he goes into Loki, so sibling rivalry is still on the cards.
Yeah, this is probably the correct choice actually. As good as the stagger would be, if you take Pyro down now, and get those 2 hammers onto Corvus, it just by having 3 hammers on him, Corvus will be protecting Ebony Maw and Black Swan. Because that's where you've got to go now with your Corey, I think.
Well, it looks like we've got a lot of thinking about where this attack is going to go.
Which, when you think about it, it's not really much of a choice. Yes, you could go into Loki just to make Loki spend the power for Trickster, but you risk him just saying "I am a god" and taking it. Whereas I think just taking 2 hammers off Pyro is you start to snowball then, right?
Yeah, Pyro blocks 2, but
Glaive is Corvus Glaive,
yeah,
and he's essentially rolled 3 criticals as part of that attack.
Yep.
Oof.
And that is Pyro dazing, dropping those hammers. Now, Thor has an interesting turn here. He has the ability to to stagger 2 characters here. If he gets a good for Asgard and with sibling rivalry, he has the ability to mitigate some damage loss here. Oh, sorry. He has the ability to mitigate some of the damage that he's about to take in terms of victory points. So Corvus is holding 3 hammers, which is always good. Said nobody ever.
Yeah, I mean, Black Order's got all 4 hammers, and I don't think any of them are good to get back now. Or easy to get back, sorry.
Yeah, easiest one, ironically, is Corvus. Because he is currently incinerated.
Yes, and you do have that size 3 sitting there to throw.
So spending 1 for the affiliation ability to heal Loki for 1.
Yeah, so I think if you're Thor, I think you use Get Help just to stagger one of those other 2 characters.
Mm-hmm.
And then Thor, I think you have to go into Corvus. Hit him a couple of times. Maybe you throw him into Proxima, which would be pretty tasty. And you've got that size 3 shipping container to throw at him as well.
Yeah, I think you sibling rivalry at the end of the activation. I think you kind of unload with Thor, do what you can into Corvus, throw the terrain, everything, and then, assuming it goes well, throw Loki into either Power Swan or Ebony Maw. If it goes extremely well early on, then Thor can maybe utilize those 3 hammers that get dropped.
That's true, yeah. Even if you chucked the hammer throw with the additional 3 hammers, like that's an 8 physical attack coming into someone, which is pretty tasty on its own. If you do get to live for Dream.
Mm-hmm. The sibling rivalry is being used.
Interesting. I think so this is what I would have done, but I think you're correct there. With you should just play at the end. You'll have the power.
Now the question is, where does it go? Now, sibling rivalry is a very cool card. If you've watched Thor Ragnarok, it's effectively Get Help. Thor is going to be throwing Loki into a target. Loki doesn't suffer any damage, and the enemy character rolls 2 fewer dodge dice and suffers staggered. So, effectively, Corvus could be taking up to 3 damage here. He'll reduce it by 1, but he can take a bit of damage here, which is going to make it easier for Thor to get those hammers off of him.
Yeah, and it's interesting because here the stagger portion could be wasted if you go for the days. Now, Thor does throw medium with Strongest Avenger, so if we do take 2 more damage on Corvus is going to put him with 3 health left. You could then just throw the shipping containers with Thor, assuming he's in range 2 of them, and that might just get you the days all by itself.
Corvus rolls.
Unlikely.
Corvus rolls a skull, which means he blocks 1, reduces 1, and takes 1 point of damage.
That reality gem. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paying dividends right there.
Yeah, and I think with the line of play that you identified was the better option. Unless we're going to going to go for days on one of the other 2 characters. That is Black Swan or Ebony Maw.
And there's the 3 power spend, so Thor is for Asgarding.
And which way is he gonna go?
Now, it is also worth mentioning that Corey does have plenty of power for disarm. So even if he isn't going to stagger one of either Power Swan or Ebony Maw, he can also neutralize them by 2 dice.
Yeah. No, and that's why I think, staggering one, disarm the other, try and Daze Chorus and get those hammers. That feels like a pretty good play to me if it all works out. And it looks like we're doing something similar, but not quite the same. Because this is potentially the best option he has to play disarm. Because you're still not going to get priority. I might get priority. No, he won't, because Pyro, husband and wife, 2 left, 1, 2, 3 left. Yeah, he won't have priority.
Unless Loki or Wong get dazed.
Yeah, and I think if you're SB now, I think you just hold your priority and don't worry too much about your points.
Okay, so 4 successes into 2. I think that was going into Black Swan there.
It looks like it, yeah. I wonder if Black Swan is going to neutralize that wild. I think I would.
Looks like it, yep. So it's only going to be the 3 successes. So only 1 damage is getting through. However, that is still enough for the stagger on Black Swan. It also means that Thor doesn't get to throw her away. Okay. So he has another action ready to go. And I feel like this was a rock and a hard place. That was a multi-stage puzzle for Asgard. Your back's up against the wall. You got to make something happen. Any of the
exactly, and we're sitting here a lot more relaxed, right? Like we are very much observers. Like nothing is at stake here for us. For us, it's an intellectual problem, right? That we can quietly discuss while drinking a beer.
Yeah.
And commenting on someone else's misery.
All right, so it looks like a secondary attack action is going into Black Swan.
Bad.
And there is nothing that Black Swan can do about that. And that puts him on 1 damage left. And you know what Thor has plenty of power for?
Oh, he is the strongest Avenger.
I've heard that he is the strongest Avenger. So, and this actually plays out relatively perfectly. This should be a dead Black Swan, and then this should be a disarm onto Ebony Maw.
Yep.
That it wasn't best case scenario, but things are starting.
It's not a bad turn.
No, things are starting to come up Millhouse.
Indeed, and we've still got the option of walking Wongers onto that back point, just sitting in your back pocket to contest it.
Exactly. Now, this actually came up on our last stream that we weren't paying. I don't think you were there for. Because Thor is throwing, he can throw through himself, even though there is no legal placement for Black Swan to go. Technically, she would stay exactly where she is, and Ebony Maw would take the throw. So it would look really, really funky, but it's not going to, because this will remove Black Swan from the board. There she goes, and Ebony Maw will need to make a dodge roll.
I believe Ebony Maw's just spent the 2 power to ignore the collision damage. Which actually should be 3 power because of Loki.
It should be 3 power.
And I think that's actually the great use of that throw. Because dropping another power off Ebony Maw means that he now can't throw. Sitting on 1 power, he attacks twice. It's only a gainer. He can only get to 3 power. Which means with Loki still around, or if Loki is still around, Ebony Maw can't throw because of Loki's suit power.
Yeah. So
take that 1 more power for Ebony Maw.
Come on,
do it.
Well, it's the 1 power that's missing, but I'm also hoping that we remember that disarm onto Ebony Maw would be crucial at making sure that there is no efficient clapback. Disarm is a team tactics card, for those who aren't aware. When 2 allied characters are within 3 of the same enemy character, each of them may spend 1 power. The enemy character rolls 2 fewer dice on all attacks this round to a minimum of 1.
It is worth mentioning. It is a restricted card, one of the lesser known restricted cards, but it still has its place.
Now,
And it looks like we're checking a Trickster.
there is a check mark on Thor, so Disarm was not played.
Interesting. I don't think if you're playing Asgard here, you get a better chance than that in this game.
I agree. So Ebony Maw is going into Loki. Loki spends 2 for I Am a God. Ebony Maw only rolled 6 dice there. Isn't his builder normally 6 dice?
It is, yes. So he's missing.
He's
missing the hammer.
He's missing the hammer. Yeah. Either way, it was 3-3. Oh, there we go. Remembering the extra die there. There we go.
Yeah.
So Loki will take 1 point of damage.
Okay. And it looked like they were just checking the Trickster distance to move back. As Trickster is an advance, and this is a size 3 piece of terrain behind Loki, Loki would not have been able to move onto it. That would have been a climb.
Great.
So it's nice little bean for Loki to maybe get some cover. That would have been a legal move.
That is a lesser known distinction of the rules. I feel like a lot of people always assume advances is everything that allows you to move, but you have to climb specifically to get up terrain that you are smaller than. If this was size 2, it wouldn't be of consequence, but it is size 3, which means that Loki would not be able to get up there with Trickster. Good call out, Greg.
Oh, it looks like the wild on that Black Tongue is now advancing Loki into space, which isn't interesting because if Loki's alive, I'd be very tempted to run towards that black point, that back point.
Yeah,
back out the shoulder there.
Now I think that Ebony Maw is going to be rolling a secondary attack, hoping for the best. The best is happening.
Oh yeah, that's tough.
That's a decent defense roll, but that's 6 successes there.
It's not going to be good enough, unfortunately.
Now I'm okay with this because Loki is flipping next turn, and Loki turns off criticals. That's going to be pretty essential, especially after getting rid of Black Swan. There are fewer characters on the board. If you can turn off a couple of spikes, it's going to be very, very important.
Okay, it looks like that pallet of bowels is going to get thrown into Wong.
This could backfire. If this dazes Wong, he gains priority.
Yeah, I think this is an error. I agree with you. I think you're getting a little bit too greedy now, and just let poor Wongers hang out, contest that backgammon shouter. The 2 points you would gain from dazing Wong here, I don't know if it's worth it.
You also mentioned that so he'd spend all of his power to be able to throw this, and he's doing it. Okay, he's spending.
Yep.
He's spending
3 because Loki's dazed. I think.
Yes, good call. Forgot about that. So he's spending 3. He's throwing. I don't know what he is throwing. Was it a pile of barrels? You said.
Yes, it's like a pallet of barrels. It was under the middle gamma shelter.
Blocks 1. Which is enough to daze. So Asgard gains priority here. That's actually extremely interesting.
It is, and I think actually we missed. Now it's been added. Okay. I think we missed the leadership trigger for Corvus's leadership card for Loki days and the Wong days.
Mm-hmm.
After not knowing what it was at the start of the stream, I'm now an expert apparently. Can call someone out on it.
Now that is a pretty heavy switch, though. I think that might actually be game. That's 4 hammers, 5, 6, 7. That's 14. It's not game. So that is. We are extremely, extremely close to Black Order scoring out here. We got 4 hammers, the back point for 2 more points at 6, and then the center for 7. Now, Asgard does get priority in this next round. What do you do?
I don't know if you can do enough. Why is RSB only on 13?
He might not have realized that he's actually holding the middle. Oh, is he not within 1?
Oh, he might not be. He's not within one. Okay,
He is.
okay, that changes things
Oh
quite a
no,
bit.
it shows that he is on the overhead.
Interesting.
Hmm.
Like it looks like he should be.
It looks like from this angle he looks like he isn't, but from the side view he definitely is. Okay. Now Asgard has priority. Now I think I agree with you. I think it might be a little bit too little too late. But I think that there is a good opportunity for Thor, particularly right here, to go in and just have a go. Have a give
Yeah,
it your college effort. Like the worst thing that you can do is you whiff, right? That's the worst thing that can happen right
exactly.
now. So you might as well just kind of give it a go. I think his out is to get rid of Corvus and Proxima in this round. So a Farazgard into Corvus, potentially throw him into Proxima, into another throw, into another attack to get those hammers off into the disarm onto Ebony Maw could
Yeah,
be could be a really good way to turn this on its head.
I think that's exactly your out. I think that's exactly your out. Is yeah, you're right. You get two opportunities here to throw Corvus into Proxima Midnight, as well as the opportunity to throw a size 3 at one of those two characters. And then, yes, you disarm Ebony Maw. It looks like
I think he's just measuring
we're checking for crits. Yep.
because so this is the perfect time to attack into Corvus because he's incinerated, and his crits are turned off, which effectively neutralizes the reality gem.
Yeah, and this guy is Corvus is worth 4 VPs right now.
Yes, he is. He's worth
That's
he's worth 5 because he's getting 2 on that back point. Oh, I guess 4 technically because it's your own back point, but it's a 5-point swing. He seems to be going the other way around though.
I think this might be an error.
Well, I guess we'll see. I feel I because by throwing
Do you know what he's doing? I think he's setting it up so that if he hits Corvus with one attack, he's got the second strike into Proxima, which is actually quite clever.
Okay.
He is sacrificing that back point a little bit, but given how everyone on his team is injured, and Ebony Maw is healthy, and so is Corvus, it actually doesn't matter as much as it would if those characters were healthy and you're worried about the numbers game.
We just
It looks like we've just flipped brothers in arms there because
get
Beta
rid
Ray
of it.
Bill is gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Thor. Which one has shown up?
Let's 5 dice. Wait, what just happened?
That's not a good roll from Thor.
I d-
Oh, is this Proxima Midnight boosting her defenses?
Oh, yeah. So the first attack was into Proxima.
Oh,
He takes
that's
2 damage from martial prowess. Oh, this is a
oh,
bit
this
of
is
a
bad.
this is a bit of a missed opportunity right here.
I think it's a game-losing misplay actually.
Now,
I think if he got Corvus there and took Proxima off the board, I'd feel pretty comfortable with Asgard's chances at that point.
he gets the throw. I think he's just trying to get her out of dodge. Interesting.
Interesting. I mean, she's got a range 4 play, so I don't think she's going to have much trouble getting back.
Okay, so now the second action has to go into Corvus, correct? Like I
Yes, at least. No, she won't be staggered, will she, Proxima?
don't. No, she won't because martial prowess did the deed.
Yeah, interesting.
And 6 die attack being declared. It obviously has to go into Corvus at this point. Corvus rolls nothing. Thor rolls 2 with a crit.
No wild, unfortunately.
So he's only going to be doing 1 point of damage.
Oh, that's a shame that Thor picked a good time to drop the ball there. He says sarcastically. I mean, this is the thing about Thor. I've played a lot of Asgard. It was one of the first affiliations I picked up when I started the game. And there are times when Thor is the best 5-threat character in the game, and there are times when he's the worst 5-threat character in the game. And that frequently happens in the same game.
Yeah.
And I think we've seen it here with that, swoop in, and absolutely obliterate Black Swan. And if it wasn't for Blood to Spare, you would have been more than happy with that activation, right? He probably chills out, maybe either occupies that point or throws a hammer at Ebony Maw. And here we've had essentially 5 threat amount to very, very little.
Yeah.
Like he's going to get the throw, but
I mean, realistically, he didn't need to have a huge spike. He just needed to. The attack roll that he landed on on Proxima was exactly what he needed on Corvus, because it would have done 1 damage, had the throw, which would have done another guaranteed damage, and then he would have needed 2 damage. My apologies, and then the 2 throws would have then guaranteed that Corvus was out. So now we're seeing this crate being thrown into Corvus. Corvus looks like he only took 2 damage and is left with one health. He is staggered, but 1 health remaining. Can we zoom in on the map? I'm zoomed as much as I guess I hypothetically could take off the telecasting and do this. Oh, I think I know what you're trying to say, Luke. Sorry. If I zoom in kind of like this, it cuts off a little bit too much of the board either way. So I'll turn off telecasting if that helps. Disarm was played. Looks like it is being probably going to be put onto Corvus or Ebony.
Yeah, I think the difficulty with that is, as we've been lamenting over the past few minutes, is that ideally you didn't want that to be a choice. You wanted it to go on to Ebony because Corvus is dazed.
Well, it is going on to Ebony, just because Corvus has the
he can make 1 attack.
Stagger, yeah, and the one attack can be all that really matters.
Yeah.
I guess the only real thing that's left to hope for is that Loki continues to be an annoyance. It looks like Proxima and Corvus are within 3, so we can get to see. It was just for the icons; the characters were hard to see. Yeah, I was trying something new because like the character, the top down for the telecasting, it shows the icon for the character, and I can understand that can be somewhat hard to see from the side. But I appreciate the feedback, Luke. I'll
I think. Oh, sorry, I was gonna say it's worth noting now. Actually, now Thor has been. I think RSB has this game in the bag, purely because Pyro, Wong, nor Loki have any form of displacement.
Mm-hmm.
So even Proxima just trying to get to that point, and then having Ebony Maw. Even if Corvus gets dazed, which could happen, having Ebony Maw walk to that back point and still be alive at the end of the game is enough.
Mm-hmm. It is worth noting that this other container that's right here isn't actually here. It was part of the other. These are supposed to be one object. The green can is not there. Yeah, I think
thought you'd get a little 2-for-1 deal on your throws there. you see, AIM, they shortchange you. They just give you tiny size 2 containers.
Oscorp,
they give you 2 size 3, man. You got to be Team Norman. He's a people's villain.
I'm not entirely concerned with who goes next here, because you're right. Thor, effectively, you can just ignore Thor. Thor doesn't need to be attacked in any way, shape, or form.
No, I think your mission is to keep Ebony Maw alive. That's what you have to do now if you're RSB.
This is a 5-die into 4, so I actually kind of assume that this is Proxima attacking Thor with the spear throw just to get the place.
Pyro, energy.
Oh, you're right. Poison into
Pyro.
Pyro.
Pyro. Yep. Which is fair. He's got a beam. The slow on Ebony Maw is annoying, but I think where he is, he's fine. I think we're just going for a KO now. But again, stacking Proxima onto that middle point because she's injured doesn't really do much. I think this game is really coming down to Ebony Maw. And if Proxima's going to spend her time reducing threats to Ebony Maw, I don't think that's too bad a use.
And Proxima was measuring into Thor there, but as we've discussed, I don't think that that's entirely necessary. If we're just looking for something for Proxima to do right now, maybe punch into Pyro again, see if we can get him off the board. But
I mean, do we play Execute just for some fun? Might as well.
They both have to be within range 1, do they not?
I think only one does. It's like one, and the other one has to be close to them. He says as he checks the card.
Yeah, when Corvus Glaive targets a target, blah blah blah, or when that is within.
Corvus would have to target Pyro to play Execute.
Yeah.
Wow, that card has a lot of triggers for not a great amount of payback. Yes, your opponent rolling no defense dice feels really good. It feels less good when you just roll 5 blanks.
RSB did go for another attack into Pyro, just doing the 1. And we are about to spend the power, 2 power, for husband and wife.
Oh, this is a dead Pyro, I think. Otherwise, that's just Beamtown. And it's probably a dead Corvus.
Corvus spends his first action to shake the stagger. And then his second action is to cut little fireman up.
Go on, use Execute. Go on, do it for the people.
He's thinking about it.
Do it for the people.
He's doing it.
Here we go.
The people are pleased. So Execute, as we were showing earlier, as long as Corvus is targeting someone that's within range 1 of Proxima, or vice versa, the defending character does not get to roll defense dice. So now it's just a matter of how much power does Corvus really want to dump into cutting up the little red and yellow man. Yes, David, finish him. This is gonna be brutal. Now, Execute wasn't being used. Oh no, it is being used. It is being used. That's 10. That's a 10 die. He used a death blow.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a dead Pyro.
That is just.
Is he gonna?
That is a full Mortal Kombat fatality.
Is he gonna throw in his crits? I guess it would be worth adding the crits in just to see if you can get the. Is it the shield for the flurry trigger?
Yes, but does his flurry have to target the same character? I don't think so. Right? It's just an extra attack.
Nope, just says make another strike attack. So you might as well explode the crits here.
Why not?
You can go over.
Do not get it.
Go over and punch one. Oh wait, he can't. He's within range of Loki. We're dumb.
Oh yeah. Of course. He just gets medium move, and it looks like he's just getting those hammers.
Yeah.
As far away from anyone else as possible.
Yep. Makes sense. Even if nothing else happens in this game, Corvus wins it. So.
Yep. Yeah.
All right. Well, as the game kind of winds down, the ending seems a lot more apparent. What do you feel like were certain turning points in the game?
So I think actually, strangely, that beta rare build deployment right at the beginning was quite interesting. I didn't pay much attention to the deployment order, but just when you see Proxima out there, that kind of implies that she is going to get the hammer first, with Black Order having priority. And I'd feel a lot more comfortable about putting Beta Ray Bill the other side of that point, essentially, you open up the ability to get a power from Wong, walk forward at the end, and throw someone off a point. I don't think that's too bad an activation. Especially with Thor coming in, you could then go into a Brothers in Arms, and you become very hard to shift. The other bit, I think we've kind of just witnessed it, really. That spike into Beta Ray Bill was hard, but MCP dice happen. I think that particular Thor activation, we've talked about it, and with a bare minimum, it's not out of possibility to today's Thor, and we might have a turning point here. It looks like Loki's just taken Corvus out. It wasn't quite far enough. That 4 dice, it's like an ice blast. I want to say, but with Ebony Moore still being healthy and holding a hammer, RSB's got the option just to walk to the back point, and I think we still end up in the same situation.
Yeah, I don't think that changes nearly much. I mean, Ebony Maw could hypothetically just uh, move up and he just sits there. There's
He
nothing.
exists.
There's
Yeah.
there's nothing that Wong can do. Um, yeah, it's funny actually. We don't. Not a lot of people talk a lot about turn zero, which turn zero is your options of choosing your team, your deployment, your team tactics card choice. You mentioned it nice and early on. Pyro on the board, no pyrotechnics. The Beta Ray Bill placement was obviously a little bit lackluster. You can look at the dice as often as you'd like. Dice are going to dice sometimes. The controllable factors are what you want to look at. So the deployment of Beta Ray Bill, his placement, the Thor turn, which could have been a turning point, versus the Blood to Spare. Now again, Blood to Spare was obviously very swingy based on the dice, but it was probably the best time that we've seen in this game for Blood to Spare to even be played.
Exactly right. Yeah, you've got. I'm going to call it now the perfect Blood to Spare turn. In terms of you stopped a mod's activation in its tracks, you dropped an extract from your opponent, and you moved the model out of position. Like that. I don't know what else. You want that from a tactics card. If a tactics card did that by itself, you would consider it one of the best tactics cards in the game.
Absolutely.
Pyrotechnics is two of those things, and we've just been lamenting its loss. One thing I would be curious about is to what Corey's, that is Switch 312's other restricted card was. I'm surprised to not see Sacrifice in Asgard in general. I think it's very good for them, and especially into Black Order.
I can answer that question for you if you give me a couple of moments. Corey and I have been talking back and forth a lot in terms of our rosters, and he sent me a copy of his roster earlier. His other restricted is Brace.
Okay, interesting. I think I would have preferred Sacrifice into Disarm then.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so I'm Brace and Sacrifice are why I actually play with that. Mainly because Asgard don't really have defensive tech. They have great stats, but not a lot of defensive tech.
So as it was foretold, Ebony Maw walks menacingly onto the back point, looks Wong in the eye, deals 1 damage, and then
The one damage is almost insulting. Like it's almost insulting.
Raises his hands and just kind of does the typical like, come on then.
Yeah.
And Wong spent the power. I love it. What a perfectly fun way to end the game. Now, ironically, if he spikes here,
come on, man! If Wong takes down Ebony Maw,
4 crits, Wong. Come on,
Wong.
Oh, all right. Well,
we only got one of them. Okay, the dream's over.
Dream's over. All right. Well, that does conclude the game. 3 points to RSB puts him perfectly at 16. 2 switches 6, and that wraps up the game.
Yeah, ended up a lot closer than the score would suggest.
Yeah,
a lot closer.
It's funny how often that happens. Even though the game goes, first player to 16 wins. And sometimes the score can be like this, 16-6, but it can be a real cat and mouse game the entire game. It can be lots of push and pull moments, those turning points that we were just talking about. It really, really can go in any direction, and this game felt like there was lots of opportunities for either player to make or break their opponent.
Very much so. What did you think of the Black Order leadership?
Honestly, I think we forgot about it nearly as often as RSB did, because I feel like there were a couple of turns where he was double tapping the power. I like it just because I like playing a little bit wider, just a personal preference anyway. So being able to take 2 characters instead of the one in Thanos, so Corvus and Proxima obviously add up to the same 8 power. I don't know. I feel like it gives you a lot more options.
Yeah, no, that's fair, and I think knowing you're going to play Loki, I could understand not bringing Thanos. I think I'm still of the opinion then that just means I have to kill Loki. If I'm playing Thanos, and we play a little bit of that kind of back and forth of where does Loki go? Because if Loki stays too far back, then you'll just spend the power to Cosmic Portal Loki further backwards, just so you then get to use your gems for free. Yep. There are ways around it, but depending on how much Black Order play you have, I understand bringing the squad you have. Like it's a pretty solid 18 threat.
Now, conversely, I don't like that it takes up a team tactics card. I think it's very peculiar that we've got an affiliation like Convocation who gets to bring the additional card in so it counts as one of their 10, but they get to bring their 5 anyway. And then you've got affiliations like Weapon X and this secondary Black Order affiliation where it counts as one of your 5. And I don't like it because of that. I feel like it needs to have the same kind of rule as Convocation.
Oh yeah, if purely because I believe a Convocation leadership to be, of those 3 cards you mentioned, the best one by miles. I don't think it's even close.
Lou posts in the chat, does Asgard need a 2 threat? I'm a little biased. I think every affiliation needs a 2 threat. I think it opens up a completely... it opens up a lot of opportunities for every roster for different threat levels. But I can also understand and appreciate that everybody doesn't have one.
Yeah, and I think part of the issue with Asgard in particular is theme. In that, if, Asgardians, they're demigods, right? At bare minimum. And what does a 2 threat demigod look like? I don't think it's going to be like the Screaming Goats from Love and Thunder, right? Like... I'm not entirely sure, who shows up there.
The only thing that...
Unless it's our boy Throg. In which
I was going to say, the only thing that jumps to my mind is Throg. Alternatively, you could bring in characters like maybe Lady Sif or something like that. Just someone who's more of a utility character. But I feel like they missed the boat because I feel Scourge could have been a 2 threat. If you take a die off of his builder, take off
the throw, maybe
take off the throw, and then I feel like he'd fit well as a 2 threat.
Yeah. Just one and around bodyguard of people. Yeah, not too bad.
Vote for Alligator Loki 2 threat. Yeah, why not?
There we go.
Why not?
There we go. Now we're talking.
Now we're talking. Alrighty. Well, as we're winding down here, Greg, I'd like to thank you once again for being part of the stream. Thank you for...
No, absolute pleasure.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we can continue to follow Corey's journey on TTS, and I believe I'm still waiting on Lou, who is currently in chat, to tell me when his next game is going to be. I look forward to following his games. And a reminder, once again, July 22nd and 23rd, we will be hosting the Forest City Classic here in London, Ontario. Everything that you need to know is in the link in the description below. Follow that to the event page. Purchase your tickets through there. We're already at 10. We posted it a couple of days ago, so make sure that you get those tickets. We'd love to have you out, be part of this amazing community that we're a part of and we're trying to help grow. So thank you again for everybody for tuning in. Hope you guys have a wonderful evening, and we'll catch you next time.